So here they are. I turned off the massive load because my hot water's hot enough. And here they are taking a heap of feed in. Oh, I can see it's actually legitimate though. I'll put a heater on. And why I say that is, if this is a video for you to learn from, this battery, that's about the maximum it'll charge at. This here, that's the max. And so if the solar's actually providing, and it's really pumping now. I'm not used to seeing it be this high coming in. Which is bizarre because there's clouds in the sky. Yeah. However, the reality of it is I can only save that much of it because I've got what's known as a 20 amp fuse. They can only handle 5,000 max, and so they run it as a max of 3,000. And so anything that the system is in fact providing over the load and 3,000, or you saw it 2,944 what it was, on top of that is legitimate feed in at that point. And now what you're seeing now is completely illegitimate grid consumption. This will not be on the graph below, and this is made up by them. And I suspect how they make it up is all they're doing is looking at what you're using in your own system. And as you saw there, that inquiry they made looking at my own system then made a load disappear. And that's pretty much what they've shown online, is they make the thing malfunction to create a load of around 300 to 400 watt consistently. So it's a bit like, you know, you got line rental of $90 for the quarter. It's basically like they do that, but like a buzzing thing on your connection. That in fact does 5 million calculations every time it calculates. And when it malfunctions, it throws out radically off data. And they use that at a percentage they calculate from it to do what they're doing. And I've got evidence of it, where you can see my load in the house on my inverter is consistently 300 to 400 watts less than what they're charging me for grid consumption. And this is obviously when I've got no battery left. That's when I see it. And that's just further proof of this continuous leech-like activity of the metering company. And so that's Acumen Metering, or IntelliHub, they're called here in Adelaide. And basically they are the company bought by Canadians, Canadian business, who also invested billions to the Australian government to install smart meters. It's this mob who are actually doing all of this. It's not your power company. So your power company, what's happened with the new act, and they couldn't change the old act to rip everybody off. So they've gone away from the energy one. They separated the meeting capability of the business, Origin, and sold it to these Canadians, which is Acumen Metering, or IntelliHub. And they've installed all this stuff on people, and then they're controlling the equipment themselves. And the government has given them all of this power. When already on the global community know, when I say global, anyone that watches YouTube, and that's even without a what's it called, IP spammer, whatever you call it, you know, the thing so you can search other videos in other countries, whatever it is. That's even without using one of them, and you can just search it on Australian Google, and you'll be able to find a whole lot of videos in the UK where people have fully diagnosed the industry and highlight that the big power companies didn't let them have complete control and have allowed them to move away from the smart meter if they want to. So in my case, the smart meter already be gone. If this had happened to me in England, in Britain, all I'd have to say is I want it removed, and then they'd have it removed. Whereas because they are recognized and everyone knows they're a massive scam. And so go look at some other videos that are in my channel, that are in my liked videos and so on. They'll show you how these guys have reverse engineered these devices, and how they basically put all of our home data in a queue that bounces through every single smart meter. So, you know, if I wanted to, I could go about trying to hack this thing, and it'll show me my neighbor's usage. So that's what they're doing. I was also told that there's another Australian guy who's done the same thing, and the video, which is in my liked videos, highlights that he's been able to actually intercept their encrypted data, and if he wanted to, he could basically take control of the whole thing himself. So it's incredibly concerning what they've done in forcing these things on the general public. They're extorting us and they're ripping us off, and you're going to have a lot more elderly people dying of the cold and these sorts of things simply because they can't afford what they've done. And it is completely against the law of exchange what they've done. In my case, when they charge me to use my own power out of my own battery, there's no way on earth anyone would accept that deal, especially when I already paid them for the power to be in the battery in the first place in many cases. So it's complete corruption, but it's not just that. These things are designed to malfunction and they're encrypted. And so when they're malfunctioning at the customer's level and they're taking up the encryption data, there is no way that SA Power or all of these other people can intersect what the metering company has said. And so the only way that it's possible is to get the proper harmonic equipment testing out these devices, and quite frankly the Australian government should have to finance the whole thing. And when I say that, they should get about certified people's home equipment, their inverters, their battery systems. That's where the certification happens, because I can tell you myself how much power I've used. All I have to do is go to my local inverter that the whole house runs through, and prior to the smart meters being switched on, put in, you couldn't turn it off. It was hardwired to the system and designed to operate at its most efficient measure. And as soon as they put the smart meter in, they introduce a switch internally, which at the moment, how it affects you directly is if you turn your mains off, it turns your whole system off. It didn't do that before. It couldn't be turned off before. And so the thing is also, once they put the smart meter in, they completely hijack the operation. In my mind, they don't do a thing. The system continues operating at its perfect efficiency, but they use the smart meter to present disinformation. And like when they do that and it's encrypted, and you haven't got an accurate measurement at my end, that's where the fraud is, that's where the scam is, that's what they're doing. And they're trying to keep that avenue open in the future in order to basically bring about what they call net zero power thing. You know, they're trying to push this net zero thing, but really they're just using the net zero as a martyr word to commit this corruption. You know, they're putting ideas out there, getting all people to connect to it, but in reality, they're already on the scales ripping everybody off.